It's Thursday night. You know what that means. It's time for Magic and Martinis. Please welcome your host, Scott Wells.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much, my friends and listeners and viewers. Thank you guys very much for joining us over here then this evening for our 19th edition of Magic and Martinis Happy Hour. We're so glad that you can make it. Hopefully that you got a nice little adult beverage or libation that you can enjoy with us. I want to say hello there, John Custer. Hey, from Michigan. It's good to see you there, my friend. Glad that you were joining us there as well. I know we got a few other people who were on then too throughout the evening. I want to encourage everybody, when you can, just to go ahead, and if you will, and make sure that you can just post your comments and your questions and everything, as we have people who are going to be coming on here then this evening and joining us. So we should have, again, another delightful time. Let me just make sure this vodka martini is good for drinking rather than throwing it away. Perfect. The perfect martini. Okay, so we are, I think, pretty much good to go. We've got just, again, a great lineup over here of folks that I know that you're going to enjoy. We're going to have a great conversation. Keep in mind that what we're doing here tonight, as every Thursday night, is just an opportunity for us really to kind of get together. This is not a show. It's not a magic show. For those people who might be tuning in thinking they're going to see some magic, we're not going to necessarily be talking about tricks from the standpoint of doing tricks nor explaining methods or anything like that. Yes, we'll be talking about some magic, but we won't be coming in and actually talking about how these tricks are done or anything like that. It's just an opportunity for us to kind of get together and have some libations like we are with Luke Dancy over there. Thank you, Luke. And others then always. Hello from Florida. Hey, Carol, glad that you're here then as well. So again, we got some people who are starting to tune in. Make sure that you got a refreshed drink, because we are going to have a good hour of conversation with a lot of really interesting people, as I said. And I encourage you then to join in by just kind of typing in your question, your comment, or whatever, as we kind of see these people who are coming in then too. So with that being said, I want to bring in then my first guest, and this is someone who is a friend of mine from Fechter's Finger Flicking Frolic, or as it's now known as Obie's 4F convention out in Buffalo or Batavia, New York, that we had for 50 years. This is their 50th year, which we didn't have this year. And he's a great card guy out of the Philly area, and someone I know you're going to enjoy. But just, I always like to show a little bit about who the magician is, so this way then you know their qualifications. So let me just show you about a 2-minute clip over here of this gentleman performing.
There are people in this room who are capable of memorizing the position of every single card in the deck just by going like that. I'm not one of them. And I don't think that you are either. Am I fair? That's why I took these 3 cards out. Now, I'm not going to ask you to memorize the position of 49, but do you think you could follow the position of 3? Neither did I. Tell you what, we'll make it ultimately easy. I'll just ask you to follow the position of 1, the Ace of Spades. Now, if I take that card and I put it on the bottom like so, you'll notice that the Ace of Spades comes back to the top. And if I take that Ace of Spades and I put it on the bottom like so, you'll notice that the Ace of Spades comes back to the top. And if I take that Ace of Spades and I put it on the bottom, you'll notice that the Ace of Spades is, yes, still on top. Sue, there are people out there who doubt me. They think that there's more than one Ace of Spades. They think that there's one on the bottom. They think there's one on the top. They think there's one in the middle. So you see, you and I know that would be cheating. Cheating. And as long as you and I have known each other, you know that I don't cheat much. What I can tell you legitimately is, look, you've got the Ace of Diamonds on the top. You have the Ace of Hearts on the bottom. So, of course, in the middle, you have another Ace of Diamonds. Which means you don't have to worry about the Ace of Spades, because if you did, you would have one on the bottom, you would have one on the top, you would have one in the middle. Are there any questions? No? Okay, good. Thank you.
Well, there we are, and there he is, the man himself, the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Friedberg. Cheers, Mr. Steve. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastically. And yourself?
I couldn't be better now that you were here to join us. I think I'll have a little sip as well.
For the record, what I have here tonight. Samuel Smith Pale Ale. Those beer lovers will know that Samuel Smith is a microbrewery out of Tadcaster, England. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing my Samuel Smith shirt.
Samuel Smith, not Samuel Adams.
No.
Okay, wrong Samuel. Not even the same family.
No, exactly. Well, it's the second cousin twice removed, and they should have been.
Should have been. That's just okay. We're going to be having a humorous evening. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I want to now introduce our next gentleman. This is somebody I know that you're going to love. It's somebody who's actually been doing magic professionally for over 20 years. Whenever he was probably still just a wee lad. And he has directed other magician shows. He's appeared on major commercials like for Arby's, Panasonic, and perhaps you might remember him as that amazing Red Robin boy. He was on the Red Robin commercials then as well. He is a fun guy, a funny guy, and is known for his magic monkey. Okay, we'll get into that. Here we go. This is my friend. Let me let this video introduce him.
This is Dave Cox, the Great Dave Cox, and this here is his monkey. He does magic, such great magic, and yet he makes it funny. He'll make you smile, he'll make you smirk. You may shed tears of laughter. He'll blow your mind. You'll be like, whoa, where did he put that chicken? He's so famous, been on TV. He's even been off Broadway. He does card tricks, illusions too. A box he stakes sharp swords through. He does events, he does parties, but he does not do windows. This is your chance to hire Dave before he gets so pricey. For your cruise ship, your corporate gig, your son's big market hall.
Wow, very good, very funny, and very good promo right there, Dave. There he is, my friend Dave Cox.
Cheers,
Hey, Dave.
gentlemen. Cheers.
Cheers to you. By the way, I have to say that Anthony Darkstone over here, that Tony Brook was saying to you, Steve, by the way, like you're a good choice in beer, by the way, being over in the UK then as well.
The interesting part is there's an entire chain of Samuel Smith pubs in Britain, but they are not called Samuel Smith pubs. You have to know the name, where to go.
That's interesting then too. Dave, we're going to talk to you just a few moments also just about your mind reading monkey. Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
I guess that's the best way to try to put it. Okay, this next friend and who will complete the trio of guests who are going to be here on the drinking couch here this evening. Actually, this video speaks enough for itself as far as giving you his vitals.
Please, a warm welcome to the comedy and magic magic of Bruce Gold. It's me.
Yes, that's me, Bruce Gold, and I'm pleased to say I've worked at Hollywood's Magic Castle off and on for almost 30 years. I work not only as a magician, but also as a stand-up comedian. I've toured comedy clubs around the country, including Las Vegas, and I've performed stand-up on television several times. On cruise ships, I work both as a stand-up comedian and also as a magician. In fact, you may have heard of a show called The Illusionarium, a multi-million-dollar production that I was a part of. I've done hundreds of corporates around the country, and I find that people don't like to be made fun of, but everyone wants to be part of the fun. So I always try to make the people that I work with look like the hero. During my career, I've worked in ensemble magic shows, performed grand illusions, stage magic, parlor magic, close-up magic, mentalism, and even family shows. I've done just about every kind of magic. And you may have even seen me on Fool Us, where Penn and Teller were impressed with my psychic toaster routine. I got to play a wacky weatherman on the sitcom Full House, and I played the magician in an award-winning Got Milk television commercial. I got my first big break in television as a game show host for Dick Clark Productions, and I went on to have my own talk show called The Bruce Gold Show. No coincidence there. As a consultant, I've worked on everything from monster truck shows to a Star Wars attraction for Lucasfilm. I've also consulted for illusionists like mega illusionist Franz Harari. I was the talent booker for Franz's House of Magic in Macau, where I oversaw $1 million a year entertainment budget. I've also coached contestants on AGT like winners Tommy and Amelie, the Clairvoyants. As a matter of fact, when they appeared on the TV show Ellen, I helped direct their segment. Now I draw on my more than 30 years of experience as a writer, director, actor, performer, comedian, and magician to help my clients powerfully engage with their audience. Check out my new show, Engage, Pro Tips for Performers and Presenters. You'll find it on Facebook. I hope you'll tune in. I think you'll learn something valuable.
There he is. Fantastic. And so please welcome our third guest over there, Bruce Gold. Hey, Bruce.
Cheers, gentlemen. Welcome. Yes.
Man,
Cheers to you and to everyone. Thank you all for joining over here. I'll take another sip.
your video makes me want to hire you right now.
That is awesome because, strangely, I am available.
For in-home parties.
Who knew that I would have an opening in my schedule?
Is it a wide opening?
Let's not talk too much about the opening. People are going to get the wrong idea. Let's just say it's a fully functioning opening.
Fully functioning opening that is available for most. If the price is right, come on down.
That is getting weirder, guys.
Hey, it is getting kind of weird. So I see Engage you have behind you. Talk a little bit about what you got that's going on right now. That's going to be something I know that everybody, all the magicians particularly, want to know, because now's the time, it seems like, whenever that we're trying to, we're kind of, since we're hunkered down, we're spending some more time trying to figure out what we do and to do it better. And I think Engage is something that can really help us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Oddly, as you can imagine, I had a huge clearing of time in my schedule after March. And so I thought, well, what am I going to fill it with? You know, I can only do so much sports sleeping, which is, you know, how many hours a day can I just flip and flop in bed? But no, I finally decided, let's get up and put on a bathrobe. We don't need pants. And then I thought, you know, the best way to get out of a funk, as it were, is to help somebody else, get you out of yourself. And so I thought, this is what I'm going to do. And my good friend Franz Harari encouraged me greatly. I think annoyed me would do it every day when you're doing your show, when you're doing your show, when you're doing your show. So finally, I put together the Engage show, and it's called Engage Pro Tips for Performers and Presenters. And in the realm of magic, I know so many of us, we have drawers full or even garages full of material. We probably have more, we own probably more tricks than we will ever perform. And so on the show, I don't teach any tricks, but what I do is I give you the fundamentals and the top tips on how to make what you do more engaging and more connected with the audience, because regardless of whether you're a platform speaker or a magician or anyone who stands in front of people and does a presentation of any kind, the more you engage with the audience, the more powerful an entertainer or speaker you become.
And so is that something that is actually interactive, so people are asking questions of you, so this way that they're having real-time answers, or is it something you pre-recorded and just put out there?
Well, yes, on two fronts. During the show, in the early shows, I pretty much just gave people information. I think there's 11 or 12 episodes now available on Facebook. Each one's about 30 to 45 minutes. But I just gave a lot of tips and techniques that I gleaned from over 30 years of being an entertainer. And then in later episodes, I actually started taking questions and having guests on. And so I would have guests talk about what they could bring to it. Kyle and Misty, whom you may know as great stage performers, they too were faced with this whole "what do we do now" scenario. And so they took their act and brought it online. And they also created a touchless magic show where the audience, you didn't hand a spectator anything. It was separate from the performer, but in the same room. So they had a lot of insights on that. Franz Harari was a guest on that. Sean Farquhar was a guest. These are great big names in magic. If you don't follow magic, these are just the scions of magic. And then as a coach, I literally go through people's performances. They send me a video of what they do, and then we go through it beat by beat, because my theory is simple, and it's this: an audience is only ever in two states, either actively engaged and connected to the performer and the proceedings, or disconnected and waiting. And the trick is to never make them wait. So we have all kinds of techniques and tips to really keep that engagement strong with the audience.
Yeah. It sounds like you're really doing a great service for everyone then as well. So I'm glad that you're providing this for everyone over there then too. I want to go back over here just a minute then also, Steve, that video that we showed was one of your performances when you were actually working there at the Magic Castle in the close-up room. Do you get there very often?
Haven't been there in a couple of years. Going to think of it, nobody's been there in about 6 months.
At least. We're all missing that.
It has been. I'm a very lucky fellow. I took up magic when I was in my 40s. I did not do magic as a kid. Didn't have the top hat and tails, but my background is in television news.
Speaking of background, I see something in your background over there right behind you. What are those little trophies I see?
Those are some Emmys.
So you went to a garage sale?
Absolutely. And I was fortunate enough to have won several Emmys. I'm more proud, I tell people, of the 4F pin that you referenced earlier, because it is vindication, or that's the wrong word. It's acknowledgement. Recognition that by the tops in the field, that yes, you belong. And that's where things stand.
Speaking of that, by the way, then too, that reminds me that I know that is one of the things that our friend Bruce Gold has done in the past is working at the Oscars. Whenever we were chatting for the episode that we had, Bruce, between you and me, that was a few years ago, you were talking about, I think we were talking at the time also, you just finished, I think, emceeing the New Year's Day parade, I think, but then we were also talking about where you'd work backstage with some of the actors, and also you're a seat sitter or something during the Oscars.
Well, I wasn't a seat filler, but I did have a pretty important position. There's a group that works through the Academy, which puts on the Oscars. And basically this group is responsible for handling all of the presenters and celebrities and movie stars, like a bucket brigade. From the moment they step out of their limo until the time they step back in at the end of the evening, there's someone within several feet of them who is guiding them or telling them where to go or what to do. And so I was fortunate enough to be part of that team. And my job was on the red carpet at one point, directing people when they got down to the end of the red carpet, just where Good Morning America and Oprah were. They were supposed to turn left, and I directed the publicists, and was a thrill. I mean, you hear the stories of Hollywood and you see the actors and the movie stars on film, but then it's like Bizarro World on Oscar night because everyone is famous except you. and you're in that. And I said it's a little bit like the movie stars zoo. I was on the red carpet and Brad and Angelina, when they were together, came walking up and of course, I want to look, but I don't want to stare. So I'm kind of glancing over. And my God, Angelina Jolie, we all know what a gorgeous woman she is in person, breathtaking. And then I thought, well, you know what? If you're going to blow somebody's head up so it's 30 feet high on a movie screen, they pretty much have to be flawless.
Yeah.
And she was. But then Placido Domingo walked up behind them and he went, Angelina! And Brad and Angelina turned to talk to Placido Domingo. And I happened to be standing right next to them because they'd stopped almost shoulder to shoulder with me. So as they were looking at Placido Domingo, I was looking at them and I'm like, my gosh, these are attractive people. You know, it was like the movie star zoo. But I'll tell you a quick story about I think my most memorable event at the Oscars. I always keep a Band-Aid in my wallet. And trust me, the day someone needs a Band-Aid and you have one, that is the most magical thing they have ever seen. So I'm on the red carpet and I've got mints, I've got safety pins, I've got matches. I'm like all loaded up in case anybody needs anything. And I had 2 Band-Aids in my wallet. And so I was on the red carpet. I said to my buddy, do you need a Band-Aid for your wallet? And he's like, what? And I go, well, all right. Melanie Griffith's publicist, I get a little call on my earpiece, like the Secret Service. We're all on the red carpet wearing those earpieces. Melanie Griffith needs a Band-Aid. She cut her wrist on her bangle. I walk right up, excuse me, you needed a Band-Aid? And oh my God, thank you, you're a lifesaver. Now we're backstage and I happen to have a great affection for Gwyneth Paltrow. And this was the year that she was wearing the very tall gold Gucci spike heels. And she and Robert Downey Jr. were presenting. And my job on the host committee was to escort the celebrities when they exited stage right behind the orchestra to the elevator that would take them up for the archival photo and then the interview. And so I said to my team, look, when Gwyneth Paltrow comes off that stage, I'm walking her. So I did. I walked Robert Downey and her, and then I kind of floated back to the team, and I'm like, I was shoulder to shoulder with her. I was kind of imagining if we slow danced, our hips were pretty much in the same level. She's kind of tall. That would work well. You know, I've got this whole fantasy going in my head. And then on my earpiece, I hear Gwyneth Paltrow needs a Band-Aid. And into my mic, I'm like, I'll be right there. You know, we got the sleeve mic. So I sprint behind the thing. I go up to the elevator. I walk up to her and I say, excuse me, Miss Paltrow, you needed a Band-Aid? And she goes, thank you. You're amazing. And I thought, that is going on my resume. Gwyneth Paltrow says I'm amazing. So let that be a lesson to you people out there in internet land. Always keep a Band-Aid in your wallet. You may get a chance to impress a celebrity one day. Cheers.
Well, cheers to that. That's a great story, certainly. It sounds like what the lesson is to keep 2 Band-Aids because you never know. Exactly.
You know, for years, I kept something else in my wallet just in case I ran into Gwyneth Paltrow.
Just in case.
And did you carry 2 because you were wildly optimistic?
That's right. In case the lead broke on the first pencil, he carried another one so we can get an autograph. That's what they carried in his wallet, I'm sure. Yeah. Something to do with his lead and his pencil. Anyhow, bada bing. So, speaking of the Magic Castle over there, Steve, as we were a minute ago, that one of my favorite acts actually is in the Peller Theater when you 2 guys are together as the evil twins. Whenever that Dave, you and Bruce, tell me something about the development of that act. I just think that is one of the most hilarious things, and I'm sure it's very popular, and you probably go back regularly with that show.
We do, yeah, we do.
I'll set it up, David, and you can explain. So Dave and I, we often got mistaken for each other, and people were like, "Are you guys brothers?" And then now Dave has grown the very impressive facial hair, and he no longer gets confused for me. But we're each, of course, comedy magicians, and we said, let's get together and do a show. And we chose Evil Twins as kind of a takeoff on how similar we look. And Dave, you can take it from there.
Oh, yeah.
And what year was that, by the way, approximately? What year was that? In the 90s?
What year was it, 20... Well, no, it was 2007, maybe?
Okay.
We've done it Yeah, we've done it once or twice a year at the Magic Castle, and it's its own separate show downstairs, a 45-minute show with the two of us, and we took pieces of our act and then created things together. And tell them about the concept of good, evil, and whatever.
Oh yeah, Bruce and I, as young magicians, we both had similar experiences with people taking our our card tricks for the work of the devil.
Yeah,
and we talk about it in the show. Literally, I was doing a show, and it was for a big church thing. I used to work in churches a lot, and they were having a big event. And right before I'm about to go on, this woman walks up to me, and she's one of those little ladies that you see like in old episodes of Andy Griffith, they just walk up, they're wearing a dress, and she grabs me by the arm, and she said, "I tried to stop this, but they voted me down. You are not going to lead these children to the arms of Satan."
Wow.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, we thought if your threshold for evil is card tricks, how closely might you have examined your other beliefs?
Yeah.
So we kind of laughed at the absurdity that magic tricks are seen as being legitimately evil.
But in all fairness, you didn't help matters when you said "says you."
Well, now, Bruce, you know, like myself, I'm from Southern Illinois, and you're from Champaign area, Springfield area, up in. I love your dad, Dave. I said,
he's watching right now. Hey, Dad.
I hope that Jim. Yeah, I hope your dad is watching. He loves drinking martinis with me whenever we get together at convention. So if Jim, you're on, cheers to you, my friend.
With you,
he's great. I really enjoy him. My point being is that is kind of the Bible Belt area, and so if that was where you're performing, I can imagine that was the case. Yeah.
That's where I grew up, in Central Illinois, small towns, going all over Illinois and into Missouri. I don't know where our watchers are growing up, whether they grew up with like fraternal organizations like the Knights of Columbus and the Kiwanis Club and the Elks and the Moose Lodge and the Rotarians and all the different lodges of
Sure, well, I remember the Elks and the Eagles and PFW Hall. And they had steak night or fried chicken night.
And they would hire the teenage magician boy to come in and do a show while they were getting hammered before they went off and played ping pong. And then I got into the women's auxiliary circuit. Like all of those organizations also had the wives of those guys who formed their own organizations. So they sat around and wore fancy dresses and got hammered on martinis while I did my little show. And then
you're getting ready for the show all that time back then.
Right, yeah. No, I'm like 14, 15 years old, and these fully adult 30 and 40-year-old women in their dresses who are hammered just coming up after the show. You are so great. And that affected my I think that affected my performance.
Just a little bit, maybe.
And my career from that point on.
So,
but yeah, Dave Cox, boy magician.
So then you moved out to the California area, and then is that whenever that you had met Bruce, or how did you guys actually kind of get connected over there, Bruce?
I will tell you, I was doing a show if you remember Brian Gillis, one of the best close-up magicians in the history of mankind, and an awesome guy, and he owned this mansion out in Redondo.
Mm-hmm.
And
actually filmed a movie over there. I think a magic movie there too.
They filmed several movies there.
At his home, yeah.
At his house, yeah. But there were secret passages and hidden panels and giant posters. It was amazing. And he would have people over and invite his super rich neighbors to come over and hang out and watch some of his friends do magic or music. And I did one of those shows. And afterwards, Bruce Gold came up to me and realized I'd been doing these for a while. And for many professional magicians who had all been, "Oh, it's a great show. Yeah, you were really good. Yeah."
Yeah.
So is Brian booking this, or can I get in on this? But Bruce came up and honestly said, "Who are you? I've never met you. You're fantastic. How do I not know who you are? That was great." And I was like, oh my God, who the fuck are you? Oh,
Yeah.
pardon, who the heck are you? And he's like, I'm Bruce Gold. And I'm like, I'm Dave Cox. And then it was, I was doing a thing at that point where I said, put your money where your mouth is. I said, do you think I'm good enough to write it on a dollar bill? And Bruce said, absolutely. And he reached into his own wallet, pulled out a dollar bill, and wrote, "You are amazing, Bruce Gold." And I have
better a Band-Aid.
Yeah, the whole thing on a Band-Aid. That's the thing. You're amazing. You're great. Your talent is exemplary. And I have that dollar bill. It's still taped to my mirror, along with the dollar bill that Max Maven signed to say the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wanted to make it a legal compliment. So,
Right.
so I put it on a dollar bill. And I always say that one of the great joys of my life is having talented friends. And so it was such a blessing that I met Dave, and he was, from that point forward, one of my all-time favorite comedy magicians. And then we had many castle lunches together on Fridays and developed a friendship, and eventually led to a show. So yeah. Cheers.
Eventually, Jack Goldfinger, so I was talking to him about doing some stuff in the Peller and who I would work with. And Jack said, you know who you should do a show with? Bruce Gold. And I'm like, yeah? He's like, the gold standard. And I'm like, yes, that sounds great. And Bruce and I talked about
Goldfinger likes anything that has gold in it, I guess, right?
just anything. Exactly. Yeah. And that's how we started doing this show together. And it's been super fun. And it's gone through a bunch of versions. Like, originally, we presented ourselves as we're each other's evil twin, like straight up. We didn't have our charming backstory or anything. We're just like, yep, magic is evil and we're going to do it. And this show, I'm going to be the evil one. Wait, no, I'm the evil one. I'm much more evil. And then we would prove it to each other, and we would, all of our stuff related to the concept of evil. And it's been a really cool journey. And we've come up with some really fun stuff that we hopefully perform.
You're coming up with new and different ideas all the time? When you script these things out?
Yeah.
We'd create a new piece every time we did it. So there'd be at least one new routine that we did together in the show, and we bookended it. So we opened together and we closed the show with a piece together.
Right.
And it became, the more we did it, the more it became about the ambiguity of evil and what people think evil is.
So you really didn't even at the beginning think of an idea of having an angel and a devil kind of adversarial type of position. You both wanted to be more evil than the other kind of a thing.
That was the fun part, is that we each wanted to be the evil one because evil is more fun.
Yeah. And we'd each had that similar experience where when we were younger, somebody said, I actually had a girl come up to me after a show I did at a college, and she says, it was such a fun show. It's just a shame that you're in league with the devil. And I'm like, what? And it was because I did magic tricks. Apparently that's the devil's work. So we had laughed about the absurdity of that. But
Well, there is something having to do with certainly playing cards and being the devil's work. I did a show, I think it was in Alabama, and they flew me in. I had to fly out to Birmingham, and then I drove 2 hours to some park in someplace, like a 2-lane dirt road or something. And I began to wonder, what am I getting into? Anyhow, I remember doing cartographic. I remember like it was last night. And whenever that I said, and then, is that your card? When it comes, rising out, she said, I don't know. We don't play cards. I said, did anybody else happen to see it? And they all looked at me like, no, cards are just that's the devil's thing. So, boy.
Bruce said we create a new piece for every show, and that's true. We've created a bunch of really interesting stuff, and occasionally, Bruce, I will run across like a prop we constructed for a trick, and I'm like, oh my God, we worked so hard on that thing, and we did it for 1 week.
Yeah.
Like, we did it. That's it. You do the show at the Magic Castle. You do your show 15 times or 22 times or 30 times, depending on what room you're working in. And we put it aside, and we never went back to that trick. I'm like, we made props, and they're moving, they're magnets, and there's so much involved. And then we did it for 1 week, and that's it. Never again.
Basically, it's like, let's sink a ton of time into something that we'll do once a year. But that's, that's the fun of being creative. So
yeah, you can see if it's going to work. Well, there was a question here by Jeff Horton. Want to know what about most awkward moment, perhaps, that you've had on stage? Any of you three guys, Steve, Dave?
I'll chime in first, and that's obviously when something doesn't work the way that you want it to. And there are a few places where you don't want it to work, as little as at the castle. Am I right?
Bad place. Yeah.
So, I had an effect, and it will go unnamed. You're welcome. And you're doing it, and it's just not working. So you can't say, it worked in the book, let's do it again. So you say, we'll come back to it. Well, the first time it didn't work. And I thought, okay, that's maybe maybe somebody with whom I was working, not a problem. The second show, it didn't work either. I said, it's out of here. It's out of here. But it's not, you just have to suck it up and keep going.
Well, that's a good thing. That's you're right. Yeah, I remember telling a guy one time before, he dropped a thumb tip and he said, I guess you know what that is, and he just quit. He just kind of walked off. He was doing close up, and anyhow. Sometimes things happen.
Lovely story at 4F. There's a fellow that we all know. The first time that you're at 4F, you have to perform.
Yes.
You must perform. It's their way of saying, "All right, are you really that good? Do you belong?" So the first time he gets up there on stage, he's doing a card trick. It messes up. Let me try it again. Does it again. Doesn't work. Third time he gets up there. Doesn't work. He takes the card, throws them in the air, goes, ta-da, and walks off to a standing ovation.
It happens.
Yeah, I think that's a we feel your pain kind of moment, right?
Indeed.
I was performing on stage in the Palace of Mystery at Hollywood's famous Magic Castle, which is a full-on theater. And at the end of this particular act, I had done a thing. This was at the time when David Copperfield was dating Claudia Schiffer. And so I had done kind of a comedic take on that. And I had a blonde wig on a wig head. And I'd cut her face from the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine and stuck it to the wig head. And then I stuck the wig head onto a mic stand. And then I had this little tete-a-tete with the mic stand with the wig head.
So
on it.
good.
And then I put it on a stool, covered it with a cloth except for the base of the mic and then the head, and floated it like the floating lady trick.
Right.
And then the climax of this trick was I would pick up a banner and I would take the wig head and place it on the edge of the banner. And the wig head would balance there by itself. And then I would be having a conversation with it, and it would turn and slide down to the other end of the banner. And I would gesture like, oh, come on. And it would say no. And then it would turn around as if turning its back on me. And then I would lift the banner and it would cover the wig. And when I lowered it, you saw the wig was still there. But as I continued, there was a body, and a woman turned around, and it was a gorgeous woman in a blonde wig. And I had the very good fortune to have a fellow friend who's an actress, and just drop dead gorgeous. I said, look, it doesn't matter what I do.
Right?
What's that? Yeah, good. Yeah. Terry was her name. And I said, Terry, it doesn't matter what I do. The last 10 seconds of the act is all anybody's going to care about, because that's when she appears. And all she has to do is just turn around and face the audience in this very low-cut, gorgeous dress that she had on. So without giving too much away about the workings of the effect, I did the floaty part with the wig head. I hold up the banner, I take the wig head, and I place it on the edge of the banner, and it's not balancing. It's not balancing because, because the assistant, who has magically appeared behind the banner and will make her appearance to the audience in a moment, is not there. And at this point, I'm standing center stage, and there's no way this person can go from off stage to behind the banner. So I can't look behind the banner. That's going to telegraph everything is wrong.
Sure.
So I just glance off stage, and I see her standing in the wing like this. because what had happened was she had gotten into an argument with her boyfriend on her cell phone and missed her cue. And I just realized it just wasn't going to happen. So I dropped the wig head and I dropped the banner and I came forward and I went, ta-da. And the audience kind of, and I go, normally it's better than that. And I was able to play it off for humor, which is kind of my thing anyway. And then afterwards I came off stage and she was in tears. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I missed my girl. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's one show and whatever. So that was that moment of, oh, you're off stage. that's pretty memorable.
Yeah. I remember my wife being off stage several times, and she's over there working on our Christmas card list. I mean, she's writing, making and then I'll be right there. And then she rushes out like, "What were you doing?" Well, seriously.
Yeah.
But anyhow, Dave, what about you? Anything weird?
Yeah, so many weird things have happened on stage.
Where does one begin?
Where to begin?
Oh, probably the most embarrassing is not when I pooped myself on stage, or
There's something more embarrassing than that. Okay.
Wow.
That's not the most embarrassing. Or when my lovely, wonderful wife was visiting my show, and right beforehand she was going, "Man, I have no idea how you do any of this stuff." And I realized halfway through the show, oh, she kind of filled with all this stuff, and that's wrong, and this is in the wrong place, and that trap needs to be reset, and that thing. So I just did it all right in front of the audience while having a little chat with them, resetting my Leffler Wonderboard right in front of them. But probably the most embarrassing thing is I used to do Bill and Lemon, which I still do.
Yeah.
I used to do it using a Polaroid camera. That's back when people would recognize Polaroid cameras. Because I stopped doing it with a Polaroid camera when I handed it to somebody and they went, "What is this? You're in your 20s. How do you not know that? What?
An antique
camera? Oh, here, Grandpa, you know how to use it." And I went,
That's where you said, "Okay, boomer."
So anyway, at the time, I was using a picture, and we would take a picture of the person, and we would take a picture of me, and I would have the money in the frame, so we would know what was going on. And not to spoil anything for you non-magicians, but I magically was able to get a picture of me with their dollar bill into the camera for them to then take a picture of. Well, I was doing 3 shows in the Palace that night, and this was my second to last show. And because I was super confident, I had just loaded the camera up for the whole night. I'm like, what could possibly go wrong?
Oh, dear.
Well, I can grab the wrong lemon backstage. That's what can go wrong. So the things were out of order. It was the wrong serial number on the picture and the dollar. It was bizarre. I honestly, I kind of blacked out. I don't really remember how I ended that trick. Except I remember blaming it on the person in the audience, that it was their fault.
Of course. It's always the audience's fault.
And then, oh, that's what I did. And I'm frantically pumping the Polaroid camera to shoot out the other pictures, hoping that it's the right camera. I take it over to somebody else and have them read it. And now it's correct. And I'm like, it was okay. It was another picture. I was horribly embarrassed because I'm looking in the back row as I'm running around. And there's Steve Valentine, who is just one of my favorite magicians ever. And he's just going... and sitting next to him is Mark Wilson. Mark Wilson, of course, in Magic, my very first Magic book. Mark, who auditioned me into the Magic Castle and signed my thing. And Mark is sitting there just... He's not risking making eye contact with me. Like, that's how bad it is.
Eric, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I introduce the next guy. He does his act, and I come back out, and I say, hey, that other picture was from the previous show, and to prove it, I went out and found the guy. We get the guy who is secretly a buddy, who is hammered, And I'm like, listen, I need to come on and just say that this is the dollar bill. Hand me this. We're going to read the serial numbers. It's going to be okay. Everything will be fine. Oh, okay, I got to go. And he comes on stage. And he's like, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, just read that dollar bill. Okay. And he does. And I'm like, a miracle. And then I thank him. I said, give him a big round of applause for being part of my horrible fiasco. They all applaud. And that's the end of the show. Thank you very much. And everyone leaves. And I'm just, I do not want to leave the dressing room to go meet.
Me as well. There's nobody waiting for you out there for autographs.
Oh,
With a gun. You know, Eric says, I love hearing about pro magicians flubbing a trick. It lets the non-pros know that it sometimes happens.
Ah.
And I tell you that I was at a taping of Penn and Teller, Fool Us, and a magician whose name you know was up there doing the drop switch. It's where you hand them an envelope supposedly full of dollar bills, and it turns out to be nothing of the sort. Well, when he did it, it didn't work. It didn't work.
Oops.
And there's obviously no recovery from that. And I'm thinking to myself, if it can happen to this guy, I feel so much better because I know it can happen to me and it can happen to anybody. It can.
Yeah.
And how you deal with that
Yeah.
is how you move on from that.
Yeah. There's who was it? Mark Twain, I think, said that amateurs sit around and talk about how great things are, and professionals get together and talk about how crappy they've done, like how they've messed up and how bad things have been.
Yeah.
So almost like we get around and we talk about this stuff, and almost everybody I know, including me, has some sort of backup or out in their bag for almost every one of their tricks. Like if something like if it zigs, you got to be ready to zag. You know, if you're not carrying a brainwave deck in every single thing you carry around to do magic with, then you are robbing yourself of the opportunity to not have a miserable show.
That's true, but also I think that you have to have a good background and knowledge, so this way that you know what to do in the event that you need that out. I remember one of my early shows, and I was working on a flatbed trailer truck at a state fair kind of a thing, and I had in my pocket a ace of hearts. I was doing this great trick that was from where you would have the AH on your thumb that they could see, and you do an invisible deck kind of a thing, and they're just supposed to say, you see a card, and they say ace of hearts, and you pull that out. And so I had selected someone from the audience who plainly didn't want to be up on stage to begin with. That's when I learned how to select volunteers, by not selecting the correct one that day. And so as a result, she came up and she was always just kind of like this. And plainly, she could see it said AH. All she had to do, and I'm reaching in to getting ready to pull this out. And that she says the Queen of Diamonds, and just kind of crossed her arms like, you know, see if you can get out of that one, Magic Boy. So, you know, that's whenever that I decided, okay, well, I got a deck of cards, and I was just fanning through them, show them. I said, do you see yours in there? And then put it to the top, basically, and then just kind of had my finger on the top. So this way I did a rising card. So, you know, it still came out, saw the card. Thanks a lot, sit down. It wasn't the out that I wanted, however, that I got out of it and learned a lot of lessons from that show.
Good save.
Yeah,
I tell people
nobody knows where you're going. Nobody knows where you're going.
That's exactly right. That's the advantage, I think, of magic, is a surprise. And it may be a surprise for you also, but it should be something that they're certainly not expecting.
It was also said that amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice till they cannot get it wrong.
Can I get it wrong? Yeah.
And
Yeah,
even
I tell people on the Engage show, I say, you know, things will go wrong. And obviously we've all proved that. And I love what Dave said about, you know, pros get together and we talk about the things that went wrong. And that you have to remain calm. And the little axiom is never angry, always amused. So when these things go wrong, you don't want to telegraph. You're upset.
Right.
And you remain calm. So another quick story. I'm on stage at the Palace of Mystery, Magic Castle. I'm working with Kyle and Misty backstage. My assistant is working with me that week, the one I mentioned before with the blonde wig. Seated in the front row, and at the Magic Castle and the Palace, you are only a few feet, the edge of the stage is only a few feet away from the front row.
Right.
So there's a attractive blonde woman there in a black dress, and then kind of a portly gentleman with very short crop hair and a gray suit and black tie. And I do a bit in the act where I have a woman do something, and then I take it back, and then I turn to the gentleman, and I go, "Here, sir, show us how you do it." So I said, just like I normally do, and I turned to the gentleman, I said, "Here, sir, show us how you do it." And the woman says, "She's a girl."
Okay. What?
And I froze, and a roar of laughter erupted in the room that took a full 30 seconds to subside, because I think other people had seen them standing in line for the show and perhaps wondered themselves. If you remember the character, it's Pat from SNL.
Yeah.
You could not tell the gender of this person by looking. And so I didn't, it's like I just kind of whatever came out of my mouth. The audience was enjoying my shock and my discomfort, so I just kind of let that roll. And then when the roar of laughter finally subsided, I went, "Well, it is the Magic Castle, and the illusion is perfect. How you do it." And then I came off stage, and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I mistook a woman for a man. Oh, I'm so bad. Oh my God, I feel so bad for that person, and I should do something to take a shot at myself so that they feel, how can I make it up to them? Oh my gosh, I should I feel like I should come out in like a wig and a dress and make fun of myself." And then my assistant goes, "I have a dress." And I go, "No, come on." She's half the size of me. I go, "No, I mean a dress that will fit me." She goes, "It'll fit you." I go, No. So she puts the blonde wig on me because my portion of the program is already over. And I take off my shirt and I put the dress on. I pull my pant legs up, so my bare legs are showing under the edge of the dress. And the assistant goes, "Let me put some lipstick on you." And I go, No, that'd be too much. And she goes, "You're wearing a blonde wig and a dress. I think we've crossed that line." So she puts the red lipstick on me. And now Kyle and Misty, this dynamic magic duo, is finishing an illusion, which is the highlight of their act. And normally I step on stage because I'm also the MC. I step on stage and I go, "Kyle and Misty." Well, I'm off stage and I just say, "Kyle and Misty." And they're kind of like, "Why didn't he step on stage?" Because I don't want to upstage the finale of their show. So they take their bow and and then they kind of look over and they see what's going on and they exit laughing. And then I come out. And then the laugh just rolls for about a full minute. And I said, "On behalf of myself, Bruce Gold, Kyle and Misty, and Brian Lee backstage, we've had a great time. You have a good night. And whatever you choose to do with the rest of your evening, we're not judging." and then I strolled off stage. But there is a video of me making that that good night at the end, but not a video of the actual moment that it happened. And much to her credit, the gal whom I mistook for a man came up to me afterwards. She knocked on the stage door and said how funny it was and wanted to get a photograph with me. And I had a Polaroid camera because I also had used one. And so I still have the Polaroid of myself with this woman to prove you would have made the same mistake.
Very good. Very funny. Dave, I want to come back to you for just a minute then also, where we were talking earlier about your mind-reading monkey, I believe it is.
Yes. He's an evil hypnotist monkey. He has both a job and, I suppose you could say. But yeah, he's an evil hypnotist monkey. And
he has a job. What is his job?
His job is to be a hypnotist.
That's his only job.
It's a real job. I mean, hypnotism, of course, is just crap. We all know that. But being a hypnotist is a real and valid job. And people ask me all the time, how did you come up with it? What's the deal with an evil hypnotist monkey? Why is it your logo? Why do you sell them after the show? Why do people send you pictures of these monkeys in various places around the world? Most of those questions I don't have a good answer to.
They are darn fine questions, and I think you'll agree.
But yeah, so in a dream, I came up with this idea. It was like like you would use hypnotism. If you could control people's minds, you would use hypnotism. And and then for some reason there was a monkey involved in my dream. And what sort of monkey would use his hypnotic powers to control the minds of people? And that would be an evil hypnotist monkey. So I immediately came up with a card trick, vaguely based on my dream, and did it for this. We shot a pilot for a celebrity. What was it? A celebrity scavenger hunt, and Penn and Teller were involved, and blah blah blah. So I actually did this trick with Penn and Teller. Though they had no idea it was me. And so I have a monkey that controls the minds of unsuspecting audience members.
And afterwards, you say you have back of the room sales. You sell these monkeys, or plastic, or what?
I have him in 3 sizes. I have the size that I use, which is about this big. I have the jumbo stage version. If I'm performing for more than 1,000 people, I'll bring this guy. I've gotten a lot of good response from people on Zoom shows to the monkey controlling their minds. But then I have a much smaller monkey about this big. I sell them after the show, and I've sold what have I sold? Probably almost 1,000 monkeys around the world.
Dave, I've got to tell you, as I look at it, the only thing that comes to my mind is, do you have a licence for your monkey?
The monkey bites.
I will say this to Dave's credit. The one that he sells, it comes in this little plastic gift box with a deck of cards and instructions written by Dave. And the instructions are hysterical. Probably the best magic instructions that I've ever seen. Dave, do you have them on your website? How can people get them?
I do. You can go to my website, thedavecoxshow.com or monkeymagician.com. And you can buy them. They're $19.95, and we'll ship them right out. I've shipped them as far away. Hong Kong. I shipped one to Hong Kong, and several in Europe. But mostly it's a domestic monkey. But hey, somebody bought one and used it. That's great.
Yeah, Harriet bought one for her son.
He only uses its power for good,
not evil. That's good. Now, is he an integral part of your show, or just something that is a feature, or is he kind of a running gag throughout the whole thing? Or
no, it's an integral part of the show. I introduce it in the first big routine I do, and then he can come back. There are a couple of gags that he does, and there are a couple of other routines that he does. That trick that I developed for that pilot with Penn and Teller, I still do that thing. So people loved him so much. I became known as the monkey guy. You're the guy with the monkey, right? And so I finally,
everybody's got to have a gimmick of some sort.
Yeah, the guy with the monkey. So I started, I hired a buddy of mine who's a graphic artist to create a logo for me. And then I took that and expanded on it. And so it's branding. When they talk about branding, every guy who's trying to sell you a system is talking about branding, and it's true. It really works. People can remember Monkey Magician. I get 3 times as many hits on monkeymagician.com than I do on thedavecoxshow.com, which means they remember my monkey and forget who the hell I'm just that guy.
You have to have some sort of a tagline or some sort of a running thing that people will remember you. They may not remember your name. It's the same thing like on cruise ships. Whenever they say, every time, what was the guy's name with the magician? I don't remember, but he did such and such. And then by that such and such, you can probably know who that person was. So everybody's kind of got their own little thing that they know, and they're known for that particular trick or a gimmick or something like that. Right. Hey, one other thing too, by the way, I want to kind of take us down before we kind of start to wrap it up over here soon. It has to do with virtual shows. I want to find out about if you guys are doing some shows, thinking about doing shows, what your thoughts are on that. I know, Bruce, that you have done a few. You kind of not just dip your toe into it, but you've actually started to get into it in a big way. Then I think that as well.
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience to many performers in that my stage show does not translate one-to-one into the virtual space. So At first I thought, oh yeah, I got a great show. I'll just turn on a camera, and I couldn't do that. So I had to rethink what I did and come up with something for virtual. And the for all of the detriments of having to perform in a completely different room and or state or country as your viewers, the thing that it gets you is people are very used to watching TV, and you're producing your own TV special basically, and you get to be in close-up. So you can connect with people in close-up through the camera lens, and that's the genius of the Zoom show. And it's just trying to utilize that in a way that's really effective.
What about over there, Dave? Have you got a thought on that then as well?
Yeah, I've done some Zoom shows, and it's here's the thing: it's very difficult to connect to the people through their computer, because they're watching it on a small screen. They're used to watching YouTube videos. If it doesn't capture their attention immediately, they're just gonna wander away or start trimming their toenails, and they're gonna forget that's what's going on.
Good point.
But because, like Bruce said, it's in close-up. You're right here. You're a big face and a small screen, and you can interact with them and become very personal. I found, and trying to reach past that camera and get them to say things, to like in a confabulation routine where you can get them different people to say different things, and that's easy on a Zoom show, right? You can find somebody and click, and it's like, great, hey, Jerry from Pacoima. Great, Jerry in the red shirt, fantastic. I need you to, and that's you can do that. But also remember, this is the most amazing thing about doing these Zoom shows. It's just like you're working for TV, and I've created a bunch of magic for television commercials, etc. And what you've got to realize is you're always in control of the exact angle they're seeing it from. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's one angle. So the stuff you can get away with just one angle is amazing.
It is two-dimensional, and you can take advantage of things below the screen or off screen. And,
the bottom of your screen is one giant servant.
Right.
Thing you can, if you pull a, this is just going to be dumb. But I have a phone, and I can just take a thing, and it's gone. Right? I know, right?
Really? Yeah. I know that there are different kinds of things you could do with video or overlays on the side to kind of look like part of your background. And there are a lot of different things you can do here that you can't do in a regular live show. So there are some advantages as well as obviously some disadvantages. Right. I just posted something, by the way. I don't know, you've seen this thing in the past that's a kind of a meme. Well, it's not a meme, but it is a video of Hitler from a movie. And then they have something, he's speaking German, and he's he's upset because the thing's not going right with the war or something. Anyhow, there was a funny one that my friend Jim Fitzsimmons had sent to me that was about Hitler's take on virtual magic shows, thinking we have too much going on. And so I just posted that over there for people to enjoy going to see then as well. I had a comment also for you then, Dave, from Gary Meyer over here, who is asking, does the monkey come with some crazy ideas or just the monkey? Sneaky deck, bunch of tricks. I realize we need to make it our own. Most of the videos on your website don't really play for me.
No. The monkey does come with some ideas. I've had a lot of magicians ask me about it, honestly. And the monkey it's a souvenir. So there's a routine in there that you can do with Svengali deck, which is a sneaky deck of cards I put in there. But I put in a quality Svengali deck because I want people to experience magic and not think it's just a bunch of cheap crap. And in that way, we fool them. But there's a great routine that's very much like the routine I actually do in the show using a Svengali deck. And there's some other ideas. And then there's 101 tricks with a Svengali deck, which we throw in there. And I give you a link to a video on how to use the Svengali deck. But if you're a magician who is looking for something awesome to add to your show, I would not suggest buying an evil hypnotist monkey. But if you're somebody who enjoys whimsy or wants to do something awesome for your friends or just thinks I'm awesome. That I strongly recommend purchasing your own evil hypnotist monkey.
Of course, yeah. Once again, it's one of those things of doing something original. You're just using this as a springboard for ideas for something else.
Right. Matt Shulian's son, who just recently passed away in Chicago, bought an evil hypnotist monkey years ago and used it in every single show, except he had a little sombrero for it. So he put a little sombrero on it, and in that way made it his own.
That's cute. That's a good idea. Well, it's like Oscar Munoz would be using the little Taco Bell dog
Right. Sure.
as in his show, then too. It's kind of funny. And he's got it so it's automated as well. It kind of, nods its head. And then at some point during the show, he'll be saying something and then it'll just turn his head to him and then he'll look at it and it'll turn back. So it's kind of a gag type of a thing. It's funny. Steve, I was going to ask you then also, what about virtual shows for you?
Well, as I used to say in TV, here with an editorial rebuttal or here with an opposing opinion, I am probably unlike Dave and Bruce in that I do magic primarily for me and the joy that it brings me when I work with others. And so I don't have the financial need that some do to perform and do these shows. What I find is that the screen is a fourth wall. And one of the reasons I delight in close-up magic so much is that it breaks the fourth wall.
Right.
So why should I don't have to do it. I miss it, but I'm not going to get out there and do the virtual show just because it's there. I'm going to wait. I can do it for friends out in the street, living in the neighborhood that I do. I can practice if I'm talking one-on-one with a friend. We did a session the other night with a pretty well-known Vegas card guy and some others, and we traded some ideas back and forth. But for the show purposes, this is just me, but I'm not there.
Well, that's true. There are a lot of magic lectures that are being done virtually then now, and it's a good way for us to share ideas back and forth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm the president of the Philadelphia chapter of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. And I've had some folks in doing, okay, here's a lecture, here's a card trick. But what I've really tried to do with some of these lectures is branch out just beyond the tricks. So, for example, we had a session with how do you develop your persona? What is your persona when you perform for others? We had another one about the history of Black magicians in America. So I'm trying to get beyond just okay, you're a magician, here's a bunch of tricks. To me, it's important that we understand who we are, why we are, what we are.
Yeah, understand. Good point.
That's great stuff.
One of the things I wanted to mention also, and you'll see scrolling along the bottom of your screen over there, then now is an AR conference. It's going to be coming up here soon. In fact, I want to throw up this picture then as well. This is called Magicians in Virtual Reality, and it's a free event that is available coming up on October the 7th. And I know that for those who have attended Magic Live, I think it was a couple of years ago that we had the one fella, let's see, which one was that? That was Curtis Hickman, I believe, who was with The Void, and he was one who gave us an excellent talk. Yeah. I'll never forget. It was really good. So he's going to be part of that. So anyhow, this is something that's open and available if magicians are thinking about doing something virtually, but this is something that goes, I think, even beyond that, in which you'll be wearing these VR glasses and helmet or something. I mean, there are a lot of things that we can be doing and utilizing this then as well. So I'm kind of anxious to see how this that particular thing plays out then as well, coming up soon. So let me see if we had any other questions or something. Work on a video. Okay. I know Phil Ackerley is someone who's been doing some things also with his virtual shows coming up then as well. One thing, by the way, that I've got this weekend, I'm going to be doing is acting as an auctioneer actually for a virtual fundraiser. And they have silent auction items, plus they'll be having some live auction items. And so I'll be performing a couple of magic tricks in between and trying to get people to donate. And it's through a site that actually specializes in online auctions. It's nothing like what Gabe Fiore does, like with Potter and Potter or anything like that, but it's something that you can click on and you can donate for this not-for-profit tax-deductible cause. It's basically trying to buy bicycles for underprivileged children in a small community on the East Coast. Anyhow, different things like that. So I'm going to be doing, that's why I've got behind me, you see that might be familiar kind of with this thing of Bill Abbott's trick, then as well, that kind of getting my stage set and everything for this weekend that I'll be doing then too. So different things that are going on. Different people still
Hey, Jimmy's here. All right, life is good.
Yeah. Got a few people out there who have been tuning in. Any last comments or anything by you guys of what you're doing? Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say hello to my mom and sister who are watching in Florida. My sister's beverage, of course, is a margarita, though I don't think she's blended one up just for my show. My mom's kind of a coffee drinker, kind of a teetotaler, as it were. And I want to invite people to check out the show Engage. It's on Facebook. And you have access to the first, I think, dozen episodes there. And you'll get some pretty valuable tips if you're a performer. And then I have a brand new show that's coming out. By the way, there are new episodes of Engage coming out, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. And I always do it at 5 o'clock West Coast time. And then I have a new show. Let me see if I can get the logo to show. It's it's Off Stage with Bruce Gold. And then one of the agents that I work with, Don Casino, is sponsoring. And just as we've done here, when entertainers are off stage, we often share the greatest showbiz stories. And that's what Off Stage is. I invite people to share their favorite showbiz story. Could be about someone famous or someone they know. And then we share stories from our own careers. So look for that also coming out on Facebook. And great to be on with you, Scott, and with Dave and with Steve. Thank you so much.
Well, I also enjoyed the Bruce Gold show that you were doing. When I was with you and we were in Las Vegas and I was filming there at Murray's house and with Chris Funk, and we were doing some kind of cool stuff there then too. So is the Bruce Gold show still going on and accessible, or old issue or episodes in the archives we can go and watch?
Yeah, yeah. I like to say the Bruce Gold show is like a low budget Tonight Show. I did have a real studio with a kind of a Tonight Show style set. And I would interview two people on each episode. Usually one of them was a magician, but both were from the world of entertainment. You can go to The Bruce Gold Show on Facebook, and you'll see the episodes of that show. Each one is about 25 to 28 minutes. And it's like a whole legit cable television show that aired a couple years ago and continues in now the virtual world through different streaming platforms.
Great.
I was on one of those episodes.
Yes, Dave Cox came on and was hysterical. So I'm just going to give you a tip off so you can look at for this particular episode. Dave read my mind with a bucket on his head. I'm not going to tell you anything else. You're just going to have to look it up, but it was very funny.
Very funny. Anything else anybody else doing over there? Steve, Dave, anything you want to promote or whatever?
Nope. I plan to work at some point in 2024. So keep your eyes out.
I figured that the way the economy is going right now, I'm going to be working for 5 years after I'm dead in order to pay for retirement.
Hey, I'll give you a good price for one of your Emmys.
You get a good deal on that probably here soon. Well, listen, good. Thank you guys again very much for joining us. So again, cheers to each of you guys. Thanks, Steve Friedberg, for being a guest. Thanks also, Dave Cox, and also then Bruce Gold. You guys have been nothing less than just stellar. This has been a wonderful evening. I hope everybody else has enjoyed this who have been joining us for the virtual happy hour. Let me point out that I like to do this as kind of in conjunction with the podcast, whereas the podcast is something more timeless and we talk about things that will be just as relevant 10 years from now as they are now. this is something that's more timely and in the moment that we can talk about what's actually happening then right now. Steve, you got something?
I was going to say maybe Dave and Bruce could join in if I start to sing, "Hello, I must be going." I cannot say I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just the same, I must be going. Tra-la. And you guys know the rest.
Next week, my guests, by the way, you're going to enjoy as well. And they're going to include Ariane Black. I'm going to have Oscar Munoz and David McGee. Dave McGee's going to join us over here for next week then too. Pat, this has just been each week. It seems like that it is just really great and a good confluence of stories and guests. And for me, it's really great to talk with friends that we really don't get to see each other in the real world like we were at conventions and different places. So this is the next best thing. And I really love you guys. And I appreciate you being here with us tonight. So this has just been great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
So until next time, that was Steve, Dave, and Bruce. This is Scotty out. Cheers.
Cheers.